Thank you, John O'Neill. Perfect timing. Good morning, beloved.
Good morning.
I'm Reverend Robin. My pronouns are she, her. I am average height, but elevated by some heels, white woman who has highlighted blonde hair, and I am wearing a woven stole that was a gift from a mentor of mine, Reverend Cheryl M. Walker. And I am delighted to be with each of you this morning. How are you all doing? Are you? You okay? I'm delighted to welcome you to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a community committed to radical inclusion, to feeding the human spirit, and yes, healing the world. And I'm confident we will get all of that done in the next 59 minutes. Yeah. We have a special guest with us today as we continue in the theme of hospitality. I want to welcome to our pulpit Rabbi Avi Friedman, who has been the senior rabbi of Congregation Ohr Shalom since 2005, I think that's right. A native of Detroit, Rabbi Friedman completed his undergraduate work at the University of Michigan, received a Master of Hebrew Letters from the University of Judaism, now called the American Jewish University, in Los Angeles, and was ordained by the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. When I first came to Beacon, we began planning pretty shortly after my arrival what's called an installation service. This is where a new ministry is formally recognized, and we were installing our entire lead ministry team. And we knew that this sanctuary was not going to be large enough, couldn't possibly hold all of the guests that we had coming into town for this occasion, our congregation. And it was Rabbi Avi who generously extended the invitation to go to Congregation Ohr Shalom. And I got to speak at their Shabbat service yesterday, and I have to say it was really touching to be back in that sanctuary, remembering how warmly welcomed we were for that very special service. Over the years, he and his community have been invaluable partners with Beacon on a range of important matters, including affordable housing, Summit Warm Hearts, solidarity with the LGBTQ community, and ending gun violence. And most recently, as we've been going through the zoning board, some of you may know my interesting experience when I first testified and had about a 3-hour robust interview by the zoning board. And it was Rabbi Avi, who you're only allowed to ask questions at this phase in the zoning board, who skillfully crafted a question just as I was being accused of perhaps not making safe spaces for children, who came forward and asked a series of questions that was like water to a parched desert, frankly, in the midst of that very hard time. So thank you. Now, in the spirit of hospitality, which is our continued theme today, and authentic relationship, I want to acknowledge that Rabbi Friedman and I agree on a whole manner of things, but we don't agree on everything. I think that's fair to say. But especially in this moment that we find ourselves in, we believe in the power of relationship. We believe in all that we do share. And the truth is, in this moment, we both acknowledge that we need each other. We need each other now, perhaps more than ever. So in the spirit of that radical hospitality, I want to invite us now into something that could be countercultural if we make it so, if we make it ritual. And that is to take a moment to greet one another. And those who are joining us on our live stream, I hope that you will welcome one another in our Slack channel. Take a moment, please, to welcome each other. Hi, Bob. Good to see you. Hey, I'll give you a hug now. always a good sign when I have trouble gathering us back together again. I do want to give you two quick reminders. One is that next week is our annual backpack blessing. So an invitation for all ages. You know, if you're going back to work, you're starting a new job, those entering into college, but also, of course, those going back to school. Bring your backpacks, and Reverend Jay and Jermaine are going to have a very special blessing for all of us. And also, after today's service, please do head downstairs for an opportunity for fellowship and community building. And I believe there's a special group sponsoring. Is that right, Misa? Yes. So our music ministry is sponsoring our coffee hour today, and they have provided a wonderful host of things. We also have other volunteers who've made some special things. I think one of our newcomers, Mignons, right? You've made like a bread or something? Yes, which looks delicious, and I'm going to have some. So you'll have to beat me to it, you know. All right, beloved, I invite us to now take a breath in, if you would. Let's center into this moment. A deep exhale. And let us prepare ourselves for worship. That is, to consider what is of worth.
Good morning, Beacon. I am Reverend Jay, pronouns they and them. If you are watching me online or in need of a visual, I will tell you I am wearing purple with a white harness and some high-waisted pants almost in my chest. And as one of my little friends asked, can you wear that cowboy hat? So a little brown cowboy hat for those who need it. It's really good to be here today, see all of you. We are now going to do the lighting of the chalice. And I'm wondering if I have someone. Ooh, I love it. Let me. Already moving. I ain't even picked nobody yet. Yeah, let me get my two back here. They're gonna come on down. Come on down like it's The Price is Right. There we go. There we go. All right. Thank you so much. As we begin to light this chalice, I want to offer you this in your hearing, these words from Howard Thurman as it happens. But as it just so happens, these words from Howard Thurman to kind of reflect one of our most beautiful values around inclusion. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens to the sound of the genuine self. It is only the true guide that you will have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend the days being strung along, but you need to be attached to somebody to pull you in closer. I invite you to be strung along in this moment.
Good morning, my name is Misa Iwama. I'm the Director of Music Ministry. I'm here with John O'Neill. And we're going to start this morning by singing a song by Noah Aronson. And the words are by Rumi. So it is in our hymnal in a different setting. So what you really just need to know is, come, come, whoever you are, come, come. That's a refrain that comes back and forth. Now, some people, especially if you're in the choir, will know the rest of the song, and please feel free to sing out. So I invite you to rise and body your spirit and join in the song. Come, come, whoever you are, come, come. Come, come, whoever you are, come, come. We're gonna do that again. Come, come, whoever you are, come, come. Come, come, Even if you have broken some promises, even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Sing that again. Come, even if you have broken some promises. Come, even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Come, whoever you are. Come, whoever you are. Come, whoever you are. Come, whoever you are. Come, whoever you are.
Good morning, Beacon. Good morning. Let's move this up a bit. Okay. My name is Adam Gonerman, and I'm glad to be serving as today's Beacon chaplain. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a middle-aged white man wearing blue jeans and a tan shirt, and I have glasses. Did I mention I'm bald? I'm also bald. That's important. Okay. Just got that covered. So you'll notice me or any of our chaplains by the maroon stole that we wear as a sign of our role in the community as chaplains. Chaplains are lay leaders who have received special training to walk alongside people in both difficult and meaningful moments. We're here to listen, to offer care, and to be present when life feels heavy. Just as importantly, we're here to celebrate your joys and milestones with you. Our support isn't limited to Sunday mornings either. Please know you can reach out to us anytime for a conversation. If you'd like to connect with me or another chaplain, you're welcome to approach us after the service. Actually, I'll also be available during the service in the back if someone needs to take a moment and catch a breath and have a chat. We're available for one-on-one talks by phone or in person, and you can learn more about our chaplaincy program on the Beacon website. Everything shared with us is held in confidence. We're committed to providing a safe, non-judgmental space. One way we nurture our collective spirit each week is through the candlelighting ritual. With these candles, we make space for our struggles and our hopes. We light a candle for caregivers whose patience and effort sustain others. May they know support, rest, and strength. We light a candle for those facing financial hardships with the hope that they find dignity, generosity, and compassion in their communities. We light a candle for places torn by violence and conflict. The compassion and peace may grow where hatred and division now take root. We light a candle for those who grieve, wishing them comfort and healing. And we light a candle for this community at Beacon, that together we continue to grow in kindness, understanding, and service. I'd actually like to add one additional candle just for Robin, as tomorrow she goes to Washington, D.C. We invite you to join in this ritual, whether here in our sanctuary or in your own space, by lighting a candle of your own, a symbol of hope, solidarity, and care for one another.
is going to lead us in a meditation, but for this week it's a musical meditation. And the phrase that we're going to sing a few times is actually in the Teal hymnal as 1037. So we're going to have Robin giving her own words as we sing this one phrase a few times. So I'll sing it for you and then ask you to sing it back with me. It goes like this. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. Would you please sing it with me? We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
So let us gather in this musical meditation, sharing in a time to recommit ourselves to that love which is more than affection, devotion, action, transformation. Settle in here first with your breath, finding an ease maybe to the count of 3, inhaling, holding 1, 2, 3, exhaling 1, 2, 3. We begin with ourselves, all of who we aspire to be, and the painful gap when we fail to find the words or the courage to live our values, when we lack the willingness to try. Bring us now the resolve, like the flame of this chalice, to call us to insight and awareness, for remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
When our hearts are closed off from each other, when a single word or phrase made us stop listening, in the times when the walls came up, rooted not in protection, but in a desire for ease. Gift us the power of water now, to move and to flow, to be, change, and be changed. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
In the storm that arises almost daily, the ferocity of these times and all that our lives hold, sometimes we react and can hit back. How can we find space like sky open to weep, to listen, to run, to mourn? For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
We recreate these dividing lines so easily, in or out, this way or that. And yet beneath the created, fabricated divisions are a strength of differences and the shared spark of what is holy and human. For losing sight of our unity.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Good morning, church. My name is Mark Williams. I have no preferred pronouns. I am a 5'11" brown-skinned male with balding gray hair and a close-cut beard. I am wearing a green polo shirt with an insignia, rainbow insignia of stigma-free. Okay, what brought me to Beacon and why do I stay? It could be simply enough to say, location, location, location. As my wife, Kate, and I live about 20 minutes from here. But that would be too simple. I came to Unitarian Universalism baptized in the traditions of the Black Baptist Church. And on those occasions, Sunday mornings, when my mom had to work Saturday nights, I found myself in the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses with my aunt. I grew up very distrustful of organized religion. I consider myself a secular humanist, utilizing our Unitarian Universalist principles and values to guide my actions. I came to Unitarian Universalism through my wife, Kate, who had been attending the First U of Plainfield with my two daughters. Our two daughters. Although it took me 10 years to officially join the church, I attended many activities and participated in social justice events while I vetted the church. Dialogue circles on race training with Reverend Emily Bogus, dismantling the racism machine at the Somerset Hills congregation. I joined the board of UU Faith Action, Lost Souls Project at the Unitarian Society of the East Brunswick, where I also conducted a lay-led service on mental health in the Black community. Reverend Robin and I shared space with Bishop William Barber in a training as well. I conducted several lay-led services at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Montclair and played Santa on their Mantle of Giving project for several years at a local Newark school. I was even co-featured in a Connect News documentary partially filmed at the Montclair congregation. So why do I share this list of events centered on Unitarian Universalism? Because no matter which UU church I attended as a guest, the congregations were always warm and welcoming, with values that align with my spiritual journey. So First Unitarian of Plainfield dissolved, and our members went off to explore other congregations. I attended Beacon activities on the periphery, starting with a Seder celebration, catching up with former UUs and new Beacon congregants. After my first Sunday service at Beacon, I was sitting on the steps outside. Having had a particularly tough week, I felt someone approaching, Reverend Robin. We talked a bit. I felt some relief. As she rose to attend to other things, I asked her what made her come over. She responded, "Oh, it's just this thing that I do." And I whispered to myself, "Welcome to your new home." So this is how I came to Beacon, and this is why I stay. And of course, location, location, location. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. And Kate, indeed, welcome home. Whew, with a very full heart, beloved, I now invite our morning offering for all the many ministries of this community to be most gratefully received.
We're going to do a song now called Ve'ahavta L'Reacha Kamocha. And in Hebrew, Rabbi just gave me the translation that he likes the best, which is, love your neighbor who is like yourself. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Find yourself, bind yourself, give yourself to love. Heal yourself, seal yourself, give yourself with love. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself, with all your soul and all your might. And you shall live each day as if it's the last one left, to undo what's wrong and make it right. To undo what's wrong and make it right. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Find yourself, bind yourself, give yourself to love. Heal yourself, seal yourself, give yourself with love. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself, with all your soul and all your might. And you shall live each day as if it's the last one left, to undo what's wrong and make it right. To undo what's wrong. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.
Well, good morning, Beacon. I just picked that up. Shalom. As some of you may know, Reverend Tanner spoke at my congregation yesterday, and following services, several members of my congregation, including my wife, came up to me and said, you know, she set the bar pretty high. So it's with more than a little trepidation that I step up to the pulpit from which she preaches every Sunday morning. So here goes nothing. Just last Sunday at about this time, I was honored to move my daughter into her first post-college apartment in West Hartford, Connecticut. And by honored, I mean that both my knee and my back still hurt. She chose a third-floor walk-up with no elevator. Of course, moving in the big things like a kitchen table and a bed and a dresser and a couch was very, very important. But as a dad, it was some of the smaller things that were even more important. We made sure that her bed was made up comfortably. We hung up a piece of art that she inherited from her grandmother. We checked out the local pizza joint. We put up a curtain on the bedroom window for privacy. We put up some photos of our family. And as you can tell just by looking at me, we made a big grocery run. In other words, before I left, I wanted to be sure that this was a place that she could call home. The idea of home is both simple and complex at the same time. Merriam-Webster defines home as one's place of residence, the social unit formed by a family living together, a familiar or usual setting, and a place of origin. People have been trying to explain the importance of home for a very long time. Confucius, the great Chinese philosopher approximately 2,500 years ago, wrote, "The strength of a nation derives from the integrity of the home." About 500 years later, Pliny the Elder, the great Roman philosopher, wrote, "Home is where the heart is." That one might be a little more familiar. And Benjamin Franklin, about 300 years ago, wrote, "A house is not a home unless it contains food and fire for the mind as well as the body." And the truth is, I could share many, many more quotes about the home this morning, because the concept of home is so central to the human condition. Home cooking evokes feelings of comfort and contentment. Homegrown and homemade items are assumed to be of higher quality. The goal of our national pastime is to get home. And of course, all sports teams enjoy a home field advantage. On the internet, the screen that introduces us to the world and puts forth our core message is called a home page. I don't think I have to tell anyone here how important it is to have a place to call home. And not just for individuals, but for a community as well. I've watched as your community has gone through a painful zoning process, all because you want a slightly larger, newer place to call home. I've heard people say terrible things about this community that I would not dare repeat in this sacred space, and it's left me scratching my head. I don't understand how anyone who has lived in Summit in recent years could say such things about the Beacon community. Do they not see what I see? The only thing I can figure is that they don't really know you. They don't know, for example, that back in November of 2018, just a week after a gunman entered a synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, killing 11 people and wounding 6 others, it was you, Beacon, that came to our synagogue. We didn't feel safe in our own home, but you all didn't flinch. You lined the walkway from our parking lot to our entrance, and you spoke words of comfort and encouragement so that we would feel safe walking into our own home when we didn't feel safe walking into our own home. It is one of the greatest acts of kindness that I have been on the receiving end of in my entire life. And that's just one example. I'm not going to list all the amazing things that Beacon has done over the 20 years that I've lived in Summit, because I don't want to go into your heads. But it brings me back to the point that the only way I can explain people standing up at a public hearing and saying hurtful things about your community is that they simply don't know you. Perhaps they've forgotten who you are and what you've done for our community. And I've been thinking about this a lot, because over the last few years, we American Jews know exactly how you feel. We have been on the receiving end of terrible hate speech, attacks on our property, and even physical assaults. In a country where we have thankfully felt at home for many long years, we never expected to experience such words and actions again coming from our neighbors. And I suspect that a lot of it has to do with the fact that we want a small piece of land that we can call home. I have to believe that there are people who don't know us, or perhaps they've forgotten who we are and what we've done over the years. So since you have welcomed me into your home this morning, please allow me to take a moment to reintroduce you to the American Jewish community. Maybe there are some things that you don't know, or perhaps you've forgotten. For example, on average, in US presidential elections from 1968 to 2024, 71% of American Jewish voters chose Democratic candidates and 26% chose Republican. Some years it was higher. Bill Clinton got about 80%, and some years it was lower. Jimmy Carter got only 45% when he ran for re-election, but that was still higher than the 41% he got in the general election. In 2024, that average was predictive, 71% for Harris and 26% for Trump. When it comes to the issues that divide the two major parties in this country, things like the environment, reproductive health, immigration, guns, separation of religion and state, the vast majority of Jews are aligned with the Democratic Party. Jews have been a reliable component of the progressive coalition for as long as Jews have been voting in this country. Unfortunately, since October 7th, and really even a little bit before then, Jews have not felt particularly welcome in progressive spaces. For example, Jewish college students have reported that they feel unsafe on campuses. And this is the result of actions by fellow students, outside activists, and even professors without knowing their views on Israel. Just being Jewish is enough. According to a survey last year across the country, 41% of Jewish students felt the need to hide their Jewish identity. 1 in 4 Jewish students felt compelled to take security precautions, and 2/3 of Jewish college students lacked confidence in their university's ability to prevent anti-Semitic incidents. Just last month, Jewish teachers were harassed and mocked at the NEA National Convention by their colleagues, as those in attendance voted to sever ties with the ADL, an organization that has fought hate and bias for over 100 years in this country. It's not that we've abandoned our progressive values, it's that we've been made to feel that we're not welcome in progressive spaces, unless we're willing to hide or abandon our support for Israel. And I think that this is another example of people responding to us without really knowing or fully understanding us. If I could swoop you all away and welcome you into Israel, along with the theme of hospitality, to help you better understand us, I would. But unfortunately, I can't do that. So please allow me to share a few things with you this morning that may help you better understand us. I'm not asking anyone in this room to agree with me. I'm old enough to remember when people could disagree on one issue, but still be allies on a whole host of other issues. However, I hope that you'll ultimately see that for me and many people like me, our support of Israel comes from our progressive values. So first, let me say a few things about Israel today. We Jews see the suffering in Gaza, and it hurts our hearts. It does. But we also see the evil machinations of a terrorist group that has forced Israel into an untenable situation of having to choose between her children and theirs. There's an old saying in Israel with a kernel of truth in it, that if Hamas were to put down their weapons, there'd be no more war. If Israel were to put down their weapons, there'd be no more Israel. October 7th reinforced that notion for Israelis. I know Israelis are being portrayed as evil, but what they really are is traumatized, and there can be no healing until the hostages are released. Second thing I want to say is that just about every American Jew I know, and most of the Israelis I know too, are tired of Benjamin Netanyahu. But Israel is not the only country in the world right now with a leader whom I strongly dislike. See if you can think of another one. That being said, I don't give up on those countries just because they have a leader who has abandoned the core values of the country. And I don't blame an entire country for the actions of a government kept in power by a minority of the citizens in that country. Third thing I want to say is there are some Israeli government officials who say horrible things. Fortunately, most of them don't have the power to implement their horrible ideas. It's kind of like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, she's a member of Congress, she's a part of the majority in Congress, but fortunately, she has no real power. And I could name a dozen other office holders in this country who are just as bad. I don't judge Israel based on the terrible opinions of some random member of the government. Another thing, since before October 7th, when the Netanyahu government tried to take power away from the Israeli Supreme Court, Israelis have taken to the streets every single Saturday night to protest the government, even during the war, even when rockets were still flying from Gaza and Lebanon. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis show up each and every week, every Saturday night across the country. No one criticizes the Netanyahu government more than Israelis and Jews. But just like the American electoral system has quirks and loopholes that allow unpopular people to stay in office, that also happens in Israel. That doesn't make Israel an illegitimate country. That doesn't mean Israel has no right to exist. We have no choice but to be patient and let the electoral system play out. And yet, despite all of Israel's faults, 20% of its population is comprised of Arabs, Christians, Muslims, and Druze, who are full citizens with the same rights and protections as Jewish citizens, many of whom are serving in the army right now during this terrible war because they recognize that their way of life is also in danger. Women have the same rights as men. The LGBTQ community has legal protections and rights. Israel has a free press that is probably more critical of Israel's government than any paper here in the US. In fact, many of the infuriating things that we know about Israel is the result of Israel's free and independent press. So I am proud of the liberal democracy that Israel is in a sea of monarchies and autocracies. And so let me also indulge your hospitality by saying a few things from our history. If we go back just over 100 years to 1921, the territory known as British Palestine, the British Empire took about 3/4 of Palestine and created Jordan. It was actually called Transjordan then. They brought in the Hashemite family from Saudi Arabia to be the royal family of Jordan, and that family has ruled ever since. So today, Israelis and Palestinians are fighting over 23% of Palestine because the other 77% of Palestine is already under Arab control. It's Jordan. So Jews and Israelis get a little frustrated that no one seems to acknowledge that Jordan is Palestine also, and that Arabs got 77% of Palestine before the conversation about partition even began. Second, Israel's 1948 War of Independence absolutely created 750,000 Arab refugees. In 1948, the term Palestinian actually applied typically to Jews. Arabs did not start using that term until the 1960s. However, that same war also created 850,000 Jewish refugees, because when Israel won the war, every Muslim country evicted and expelled their Jewish populations, often with little more than the clothes on their backs. Many of them had to walk from as far away as Yemen to get to Israel. And Israel simply took them in. There was no UN organization created to help them. There was no funding other than the money raised by Jews around the world to help their fellow Jews start over. No one created refugee camps to keep them segregated from the rest of the population. There were no reparations from the Arab states that confiscated their property. So if it seems sometimes like Israelis are indifferent to the plight of the 750,000 Arab refugees, it's because the majority of Israel's population are descendants of those 850,000 refugees who got nothing. Yes, that's right. Over 60% of Israel's population today is non-white, of Middle Eastern or North African descent, not European. They simply don't understand why the Arab world didn't take care of their own the same way that the Jewish world took care of their own. The third thing I want to say about history is that Israel was, of course, established in the shadow of the Holocaust. People like to say that the only reason that there is an Israel is because there was a Holocaust. However, we Jews see it a little bit differently. We say that there was only a Holocaust because there was no Israel. So as anti-Semitism continues to rise to levels not seen by most Jews alive today, it only reinforces for us the need for a Jewish state. So when well-intentioned people make suggestions that would lead to Jews being a minority in Israel, or that would allow Hamas to stay in power, those are deal breakers for us. Now, I'm not asking anyone to agree with the policies or the tactics of the current Israeli government, but I hope you'll begin to see that our commitment to our homeland and our commitment to progressive values are not incompatible. And just because Israel is an imperfect country, one among many, that doesn't mean that we will give up our hope that she can do better. And that doesn't mean that we will allow the world to force Israel to accept a situation in which the next October 7th attack is just around the corner. Some of you may have been to a Jewish home on a Friday night in the spirit of hospitality. On Friday nights, we light candles, we spread out our best tablecloth, we say blessings over wine and a braided bread called challah. The truth is that this is a remnant of rituals performed in the temple in Jerusalem some 2,000 years ago. The candles have taken the place of the menorah, the 7-branched candelabra. The table is the altar. The wine and the challah are the offerings that were brought by Israelites and Judeans to the temple all those years ago. In other words, every Friday night for over 2,000 years in our homes, Jews have reenacted the temple ritual that ended with the conquest of Jerusalem by the Romans and the onset of the modern Jewish diaspora. In fact, one of the euphemisms for the home in Hebrew is mikdash me'at, a miniature sanctuary. It is one of the many ways that we have carried our spiritual home with us and our connection to Israel with us across the centuries and across the continents. Many of us, though never all of us, were forced to leave Israel, but Israel never left us. There's one last quote about home that I want to share with you, and it's from Robert Frost, the 20th century American poet. Some of you may know it, though you may not realize who it's by. He said, "Home is the place where when you have to go there, they have to take you in." The progressive left has been the political home to the majority of Jews for a very long time. I would like to think that our decades of work on civil rights, voting rights, women's rights, reproductive rights, immigration, LGBTQ rights, and the environment would make it obvious that we're still a part of the family, that we still have a place in that home, even if we see this one issue a little differently than the rest of the folks who have lived there with us over the years. And I hope you think so too. Thank you for welcoming me into your home, and I look forward to visiting your new home when it is approved, built, and ready.
Okay, our closing song is 1051. And just so that it's a little bit easier to read off the page, I will say that every time you see a heavier line and 2 dots, you could look for the next heavier line with 2 little dots, because it means that section will repeat. So in this tune, the first phrase, "For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are," repeats again. And the next section, "We are our grandmother's prayers," that goes all the way through page 3 and then repeats to page 1, back to "We are our grandmother's prayers." And the reason we're singing this song is because the previous song that we did was "Love your neighbor who is like yourself." But that also requires loving yourself and knowing yourself. So now we're going to say who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing the song. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We are sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We are seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. Page 1, we are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We are sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We are seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Beloved, for our closing blessing, I invite you to take hands with one another as we extinguish the light of our chalice.
So first I we're running 5 minutes late. It's all my fault. The name of God that I'm going to use in this prayer is Adonai, and I've heard it translated as is, was, will be. May Adonai bless you and keep you. May Adonai show you favor and smile upon you. May Adonai show you kindness and bless you with peace in a world of peace. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen.